Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now it's time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Bobby.
I'm Bob, I'm an alcoholic. I'm addicted to anything you can do more than once. That's where I'm coming from. First things first, I don't speak for AA. Anything that comes out of my mouth is just my opinion. And like a good alcoholic drug addict, I have a lot of opinions about everything. And, you know, mostly they come out of this little can of snakes, and so consequently you can't trust them that much. But I'm going to share them with you whether you like it or not. So here they go. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight and paying a 12-step call on me, because one of the most important things you can do around the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is be of service. And especially when you're kind of new to this program, one of the best ways you can be of service is by taking up a seat at the meetings. So if a newcomer comes to the door and there's nobody here, they go, well, AA doesn't work when I'm wasting my time, and they turn around and leave. They see a room full of people that are kind of like, you know, all good looking and smiling and jumping up and down and cruising, you know. They think maybe something's happening here, you know, and maybe I'll stick around and see what it is. And second of all, you know, like I want to say that in my less than humble opinion, Alcoholics Anonymous is just about two things. You know, it's learning to treat other people the way you want to be treated and doing the right thing. And I learned from this old cowboy up in Vegas who had about 45 years of sobriety that he said, you know, we all know what the right thing to do is. We all know that what the right thing to do is. And we spend a lot of time and energy and money and effort trying to convince ourselves that we don't. You know, and sometimes they call this program American Zen. And that's one of the Zen aspects of it, you know. We all know the right thing to do. And the disease is that we go to any lengths to do the wrong thing, you know. And I also want to say that I don't know anything that I haven't learned in these rooms that I trust. You know, anything that, like I said, anything that comes out of my brain broke, man. So what come out of my brain, stupid. And I have to pay attention to what you guys say if I want to learn anything worth shooting in this life. Because I just, you know, this computer throws up the wrong answer to almost any question that I dump in there. And I want to say that I believe that there's a higher power. I call that higher power God, because I like to get the argument started right now. You know? I don't want to mess around with like group of drunks and the horizon line and all that shit. This is just see, there is a God, you know, and you ain't him, so, you know, let's get it on. Because by myself, the way I know that that's true You know, I'm the kind of guy that when I accidentally came to this program that I neither wanted nor needed, you know, because when I got to this program, I definitely didn't need it. You know, I wasn't a real alcoholic. You know, I answered 17 yes out of 20 questions, but I wasn't a real one, you know. And I was on an uptick. I had a pocket full of money, and I was driving a car, and I had a place to live, and I just finished working on a movie in Paris, and, you know, like I was like doing okay. But I felt like a failure. And see, that's the secret of alcoholism. No matter whatever you get, you still kind of feel like you're a failure, you know. And the only time you don't feel like you're a failure is when you're so arrogant that you think you're in charge, you know. You dump a little cocaine on that, you know, and you got a King Kong in charge asshole jerk, you know, running around with an inferiority complex, you know, starting fights and screaming, you know, making a lot of noise and leaving a lot of broken furniture behind him. I thought Laura decorated this to make me feel at home. What do I want to say? I don't know. I want to talk about God and I want to talk about sex, you know. So let's talk about sex first, just to get it out of the way. It's good. Sex is good. Don't hurt yourself. Now, let's get to God, you know, who is also good, and you can't get so much God that you hurt yourself. You can delude yourself, apparently, by the actions of some people that I've observed in the last few years. You can delude yourself into thinking your God has bigger nuts than anybody else's God, and that gives you the right to tell people what to do. But, you know, they call that a political movement. They don't call that really religion. That's a political idea. You know, a religious idea or a spiritual idea is learning to treat your brother and sister the way you want to be treated. And that's what's happening in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, we're here to find that. We're here to find that groove. You read the book Alcoholics Anonymous, and it says the purpose is find God, you know. You can call it what you want. I used to call God motherfucker all the time, you know. Come on, motherfucker, if you exist, let's see you stop me from taking these Percodan, you know. And I passed out, and I woke up, and I went to a meeting, and Frankie the junkie said, well, what happened to the Percodans? And after I told him he couldn't have them, you know, he said if I wasn't so stupid, I could consider my prayer was answered because I didn't take them. You know, I passed out instead. And you know what? That was like part of the American Zen learning experience for me too. It's like a way into this program that I hadn't anticipated. You know, lots of times we come to this program and we start listening to all the jibber jabber and everybody's like opinions, you know, and everybody's like off the reservation, you know, ways of working the program, and everybody's ideas of what the big book says that it doesn't say, or at least not the black and white parts of the big book don't say it, you know. Then we get all lost and twisted and torn up in it, and we look at those steps, and they look like, you know, Egyptian arithmetic or something, and we say, we're not going to do that, you know. And, you know, the bad news is that this program asks you to do exactly the things that you have no intention of doing. You know, the good news is if you make a little stumbling, pathetic, crawling attempt to try to do those things, that the fear goes away. You know, and I don't want to hear about, I'm not afraid. Because anybody who gets to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous that's a real alcoholic or a real dope fiend is terrified. That's one of the requirements for getting into this outfit. You know, you got to be a failure to get into this club. You know, so people who strut through the doors think they're bringing it, you know, they're just, you know, they're a joke, really. Or they are to anybody who's been here more than 20 minutes. Because, you know, there's Right, man? You don't come here if you're a winner. That's not what's happening. You know, there's no well ones in this crew. Now here's the good news. See, there's always good news, though. The good news is we're all stark raving crackers, but we're not all totally insane and totally precisely the same way at the exact moment. You know, somebody's always got their hand on the handle a little bit, you know, said, no, I don't think I'd put that shotgun in my mouth if I were you. You know? Oh, okay, maybe I won't do that tonight, you know. You know, that's what they used to call sponsorship. You know, and people wear that like a loose garment too. There's this Nuevo AA, you know, that's kind of cool. You kind of work the steps that you feel like working, and you kind of shine on the ones that you don't. You know, and that works until about your third or fourth slip, you know. And then people end up doing the program, what I loosely call our way. You know, the softer, easier way is to do the steps as they're written. Okay, I'm going to qualify for just a second. You know, I'm really an old geezer. I was born in 1939 in Akron, Ohio. It's a source of great shame to me. You know, I couldn't admit it to anybody. You know, one time this comic named Lenny Bruce took a look at me and said, "You look like you're from Ohio." I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, he crushed me, you know. And then he did a beat and said, "You're probably Akron," you know. And I just, oh, God, man, because he was the hippest white dude walking at the time, you know. And he also had the dope that night. So I was born in 1939 in Akron. It was a source of great shame until I got to this program, and then it was a source of great pride, like I'm from Akron, like I wrote the book. You know, the book was published my birth year, you know, I used for 25 years. When I was a little kid, I didn't use because they didn't have drugs in school when I was a kid. This was a long time ago. You know, all they had in Akron was the soapbox derby and some Quaker puffed rice. I'm serious, man, and kind of pathetic, really. And I couldn't wait to get out of there because I had relatives that were in the circus, and the circus would be in town, and they would come by the house, and they'd bring their makeup kit. They're a clown. They'd show my sister and I how to be clowns and how to invent ourselves and how to invent our own makeup. And, you know, nobody else could use that face. You know, that was the clown's big thing, is the faces belonged to them. And they were all drunks, and they were having a good time. But, you know, the best part was they'd take my sister and I backstage at the circus and show us all the tricks and got to meet all the freaky people and stuff. And they were rocking. You know, that was a show. It was on the road. And the show moved on, you know. And I learned really early that the party was on the road. You know, it wasn't in Akron, for sure. I couldn't wait to get out of there. And when I was 13, I started moving it. And by the time I was 18, I was one of us, you know. And I used, you know, every day for 25 years, unless I was prevented from doing it. You know, I took something. I drank something, or shot something, or snorted something, or rubbed something, or tucked something, or, you know, swallowed something, or ate something, or licked something, or, you know, I did something. And I thought it was perfectly normal, man. You know, my take on it was just like that old stupid joke you hear like these Ivy League drunks tell, you know, when they, oh, you're an alcoholic? Oh, what must be terribly depressing to realize when you wake up in the morning that that's as good as you're going to feel all day. I said, and I'm thinking, you know, you dirtbag, you know, give me your wallet, you know. I'll drink with you. You know, and say goodbye to your wife and car while you're at it, you know. Because when I'm drinking and using, you know, like I'm antisocial. Have you ever met a social heroin user? You meet social drinkers sometimes, but you don't find a lot of social junkies. And when I'm drinking and using, if you can't do me a solid, you know, lend me your body or something, or, you know, you're in my way, man. You know, you're in my way. You're stopping my circus. And so I don't like you, you know. And so I spent a lot of years not liking you and building up this wall, you know, this clear wall to protect me from you. Like, you can't get in and fuck with me whatsoever, you know. The trouble with that is that if you buy anything that I'm doing, whether it's in the arts or in real life, like they're separate, you know, then I don't respect you. I don't respect you if you like my product, because I'm gaming you. So if you buy it, you're a sucker. You know what I mean? And when I've got that wall, that clear wall to protect me from you, it doesn't let any love in either. So it becomes a lonely place in there. Me, my drugs, and my anger. Okay? That's what happens. And in Alcoholics Anonymous, I've had to take that wall down. You know, it's still a process. You know, it's like over 30 years, but it's still a process. And the wall zips back up every once in a while, sometimes when I least want it to. Anyway, I left there, you know, I went to Boston. I went to art school in Boston. And I used to go and play music on the stage to pay for art school. And I met these people that robbed drugstores for a living. And I had a place where they came, you know, at 4:30 in the morning and cut up the night's work. And all they were interested in was the Class A narcotics, and they gave me anything else I wanted. So I always had a big, like, gallon jar full of uppers and another half-gallon jar full of downers. And I just, like, had pockets full of pills, you know. And I was in Boston. I was a teenager, and I was out of my mind. And I learned to shoot dope there and everything, and I was an alcoholic. And the best thing about it is that the cops thought I was a college kid, you know. And they'd catch me, like, you know, walking into walls, and they'd say, "You better get back to your dime, son." And "You go to Harvard?" I'd say, "Yes, I did, sir." "You better get back to your dime now before anything happens," you know. They're walking away sweating bullets, you know. And because in those days, like in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it was 5 years in prison, no probation, no parole, for any possession of traces of marijuana, and 15 years for any tracks or traces of narcotics. You know, no probation, no parole. So it was like a heavy load. And what I learned to do there, and it's like, this helped get me to you guys, is I learned to drink on top of being loaded. So I'd be high as a kite, you know, and I'd think, you know, I thought at the time I was being slick. I thought I was camouflaging myself. I thought I'd better have a drink now in case I get stopped by the police. What I didn't realize is that I was a full-blown alcoholic. And I didn't really realize that until the chief naval surgeon at the Chelsea Naval Base in Boston, Massachusetts, found me unfit to handle high explosives, you know. And that United States, you know, military would be better off if I wasn't near the arsenal, you know. And, you know, I thought, well, lucky me, you know. That saves my bacon, you know. And that gives me more time to get high. And so I just percolated along like that. And, you know, my drinking and using career was up and down all the time. And, you know, I'd doctor myself into some kind of human form, and I'd go out and I'd score some good opportunity, and I would be like flying high, and slowly I would dismantle my position, you know, until I was behind a locked steel door in Times Square with a needle in my arm, you know. And I kept waking up dead, you know, and towards the end of my using, I kept waking up dead with more frequency, you know. People were like always reviving me. I OD'd 3 times in the Chelsea Hotel. I don't know if anybody ever heard of that place. But I OD'd 3 times in the same hotel, man, and no one ever threw me down the back stairs like they did regular junkies, you know. My girlfriend burned the place up once. You know, it's crazy. And, but I didn't need any help. I just kept thinking, maybe science will invent this medicine that I can take, and this shit will go away somehow. And I didn't really know I was an alcoholic, you know, until I tried to stop drinking. See, like, I'm the kind of guy that I get rid of one addiction by applying another addiction to it. You know what I mean? Like, for me, you know, kicking heroin is easy. You just get a big bag of Second Hall, you know, and a gallon of vodka. You know, and every time you wake up, you take another handful of Second Halls and a tumbler full of vodka. You know, and you stay unconscious for about a week, and you wake up and you don't have a heroin habit. You have a Second Hall habit. You know? And, you know, but, you know, I thought I was a genius, you know. I was in San Francisco. I remember, like, this girl came over to visit me, and she was like a runner for one of the big rock bands, you know, like an anonymous band, you know. And she came over and she said, "Would you like some Coke?" And I said, "Sure." And she took out this pillowcase-sized bag, plastic bag. She said, "Turn your guitar over." And I flipped it over, and she just dumped this pile of Coke on top of my guitar. And I mean, I just like sat there looking at it, you know, like, what? And when I started to do it, you know, I just had a pot of boiling water on the stove and a soup ladle, you know, and some gimmicks, and I just sat there and did all the cocaine, you know. And when I was done, the kitchen was covered in blood, my arms looked like a hamburger, and I had to take about a dozen Dexedrine to come down, you know. And I remember thinking when I was doing this, you know, like, how much of this shit do you have to do before you die? Because, you know, I was so numb, I wasn't getting any rush or anything anymore. I was just like, socially, of course. By myself. I had sent her away. You know, the things we do when we're insane, you know, I mean, some of them are funny, and some of them are like really, every once in a while, I'm cruising along and I have a flashback of something I've done that didn't make it into my inventory, and didn't make it into any meditation, didn't make it into any conversations. I just think of something that happened, and I just, you know, just like, how in the world am I ever going to make that right, you know? And there's like a lot of those things that I can never make right. I'll never see those people again. And my sponsor taught me that the best way to make a start on those kind of amends is to, first of all, stop doing that behavior. And second of all, you know, you can make a silent amends. If it's really troublesome, you can write it on a piece of paper and mail it to them. You know, don't put a return address on anything. And it's all about clearing the shame and guilt. You know, it's about deleting the shame and guilt. It has to go, because if it doesn't go, we'll use. If you're an alcoholic, an addict of my type, you'll die. It's as easy as that. You know, I don't think that this is a social club in here. I don't think it's a cotillion or a dating service or an employment agency. You know, it has aspects of all those things. Those things happen if you're lucky, you know, but that's not what's happening here. You know, what's happening is trying to arrest a deadly fucking disease that's going to get you killed. It might not get you killed because you pick up. You might not pick up a drink or a drug, but you might be cruising a hard body when the taxi hits you. You know, you might be distracted by some bullshit over there when a drunk driver comes across the center line and takes you out. You may make a decision in business that gets a shotgun stuck up against your head. You know, you can get killed a lot of ways from this disease, you know, that don't involve the actual ingestion of drugs or alcohol. You know, it's a disease of the mind. It makes you stupid as a fucking rock. You know, and crazy as a shithouse butterfly. You know, it just, and it's useless as a two-story outhouse. It just doesn't compute, you know. And yet, if you make a pencil neck attempt to find out, you know, what it is that, you know, you should do, which you already know, you know, the fear goes away and it becomes an adventure. Okay? I want to go through the steps really fast. Do I have time? Yes. I was in New York, and I was down in Soho, and I was at some crappy little meeting back when Soho was Soho, and I'd picked up a lot of things in AA, you know, like I used to go to Architects of Adversity, because I got sober in West Hollywood, and that was the only noon meeting that was around. I mean, and it was a ferocious meeting, you know. I mean, people were getting, you know, people were doing speedballs in the bathroom and, you know, throwing chairs at each other and having knife fights in the parking lot, and it was crazy. You know, getting laid in the phone booth and shit, and it was really nuts, you know. And it was high-intensity meeting, you know. And I remember like sitting there one time, and this guy had just gotten out of San Quentin, you know, and he had murdered his wife and kids, you know, and the guy who was leading the meeting said, "Did you drink?" The guy said, "No." He said, "Good, welcome, you did the right thing." I thought, oh my God, you know, where am I, you know? And they stomped a poet to death in the parking lot once for spitting on this woman. It was pretty freaky. So, you know, for me to go to meetings in New York was nothing, you know. I mean, I just thought, these people are crazy. They don't do it our way. You know, they got it all wrong. And I mean, I learned a lot of stuff there. One guy told me if I kept my mouth shut, nobody'd know how stupid I was. You know? And I sort of like got that, you know, after a while. Anyway, I heard this girl there when I had about 3 or 4 years of sobriety. She told me these things. It was absolutely fantastic. She said, there's 2 ways of working these steps. I mean, this is for the newer people. You know, if you're looking at these steps and you're saying, oh, geez, I don't know if I'm going to go that far with this program. I kind of like the meetings. I kind of like cruising the hard bodies. You know, I kind of like, you know, getting lucky, but I don't think I'm going to get into these steps. They're asking me to do shit that's a little too freaky, you know. You know, this is how easy it is, okay? If you ever wanted to die, you know, or maybe just go to sleep for 6 months, you know, or get Keith Richards' doctor to change out your blood or something, you know, and be a new person because of what was drugs and alcohol was doing with your life. You've already taken the first step. You've already admitted that you can't get your shit together and that your life is unmanageable. That's how easy the first step is in the paramedic version. All right? If you ever decide, well, maybe I won't jump out the basement window because it could hurt, you know, or like, you know, however you were planning to get out of it, you know, maybe I don't have enough Vicodin to do the trick, you know. Then you've taken the second step and you've admitted that maybe something else is happening. And if you've ever gone to your second meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, or any other 12-step program really, and you've ever gone for yourself, not because the sheriff twisted your arm or your parents or your lover, you know, or the judge or anybody, you went for yourself. You've taken the third step. You know, if you've gone to your second meeting, you know, for yourself, You've taken the third step and admitted that there's something going on in these rooms that you don't have a hold on. But you know, there's some reason all these people are sitting here on Friday night listening to a lunatic rant, you know. So there's something going on in here, you know. And when it gets to the fourth step, this is where people start to crumble, you know, because they don't want to talk about the time that Uncle Fred stuck his hand down your pants, or, you know, like you stole grandma's last suppository or whatever, you know, took your baby sister's piggy bank to cop. Or what happened when you did get locked up. And you're never going to share that, you know. Under Chinese water torture, you're not going to. You know, this is the way you do it. You go down and get a brand new legal pad, a brand new Bic pen or a pen of choice, whatever yours is, whatever, you know. And you write on the top of the first page, whether you believe it or not, here's your first words: God guide my pen. That's all, just write it. You know, because the healing starts when the pen hits the paper. It's not what you write down. It's the willingness to write anything down. And you kind of hedge your bets by putting down God guide my pen, because it gets the God question out there just in case there is one. You know, and it gives you the free first line, and then you might as well just start the shit list. You know, I hate my brother because, or sister, or mother, or father, or cousin, or whoever it is, the sheriff's department. Just start the shit list, and just write it down, and then, you know, don't worry about the columns and all that. Just get the shit list down, because as soon as you get into this, if you talk to somebody else about it. By the way, it took me 2.5 years to get into that, to do that. It finally got so that, you know, Aaron the junkie and Frank the junkie, Suzanne the hooker, and everybody, they were yelling across the room, "Hey, Bob, you do your fourth step yet?" At meetings like this. And I got so embarrassed, I finally, okay. And at a certain point, you realize I can do this with ditto marks. Because it's all about the same shit over and over and over and over. You know, I hate this person because they did this, and it makes me think my dick is too short, and that affects my self-esteem. And then I hate so-and-so because they did this, and ditto. Pretty soon you're just ditto mark. Now, you know, it gets to the fifth step, you know, and this is the next time when everybody goes, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to do it." It doesn't say anything in the book Alcoholics Anonymous where you can't go out and hire a wino to listen to it, you know. It doesn't say that. It says take it with any person, another human being. We suggest you take it with these kind of people, an understanding person, but, you know, a wino might be very understanding, you know. Buy him a short dog night, you know, and we'll sit there and listen to everything you got to say. Maybe your case will be like mine. When my sponsor finally agreed to listen to my fifth step, he fell asleep. You know, it wounded my ego. But that was his trip, was to take my ego down all the time anyway. He would say stuff to me like, "Do you have a mirror? Go and look in it." And I thought, well, that's a nice new age sentiment. He would say, "Otherwise, you're going to miss the joke of the century," you know? And they're just, oh, shit, you know? And he would take me, he was a speaker, and he would take me to meetings and make me be the first speaker, you know? By the way, Lisa is great. You said everything. That's why I can just stand here and riff, because you said everything important there was to say about sobriety. You know, that's the advantage of going second. Is the first speaker always tells all the, you know, important stuff, you know. Or my sponsor said, "We're just here to entertain," you know. And, you know, I got over, like, wanting to be liked. I don't care if you like me or not, you know. You have to love me or you're going to drink, so. Start praying for me on the way home when you're going, that a-hole speaker. You know, who the fuck does he think he is? just say a little prayer because I need all the help I can get. Get rid of your resentment. So, the fifth step is nothing really. Like there's a thing I heard in NA one time. A guy says, like, well, I fucked a chicken, And the sponsor said, oh, yours died too? It's kind of crude, but it's basically, my sponsor told me the only two things that were interesting were murder and incest. And they're only interesting the first couple of times you hear about them. Turns out to be true, actually. Then it gets to the sixth step, where you like become entirely willing. And I don't believe anybody becomes entirely willing until you're in so much pain that you just go, oh, God, if you exist, help me out of this hole. Because, one of the reasons they call it American Zen is because Alcoholics Anonymous is an idea. It's a state of mind. If you can't imagine being happy, joyous, and free, you're not going to be happy, joyous, and free. It's like worry. You want to worry about something, you're praying for something you don't want. It's best not to take that dog out of the kennel. That's what let sleeping dog lie. That's what that means. Don't take out any, like my sponsor would say, how does that make you feel to think about that? It makes me feel like shit, man. He go, well, stop thinking about it. He'd say, he told me, people spend their whole lives, and they wear themselves out trying to get to a place where they can breathe in and breathe out and have a good time. And he said, what are you waiting for? Start now. Take a breath, let it out, and have a good time. One of the cool things about Alcoholics Anonymous is if you stay in the now, if you stay in the now, you can get that relief. You can get that, and you know what they call it? They call it serenity. Serenity is feeling like you're in the right place at the right time with the right boots on, the right haircut, the right amount of money in your pocket. You're not lonely, angry, hungry, or tired. I always feel like that in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's why it's so easy to fall asleep in here. It's a safe place. I never saw a sheriff, pull anybody out of a meeting. Well, they tried to take my sponsor away in Malibu because he attacked somebody, but that's because they were already in riot gear. So, if you, I asked my sponsor, this is the last thing I'm going to say. When you look at the steps, it says, be restored to sanity. Okay? I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up in a sane household. I didn't have any model for sanity. I had a model for phony goodness. I had a model for hypocrisy. I had a model for fake Christianity. I had a model for a lot of things, but I didn't have a model for sanity. So I asked my sponsor, the Zen master, what the fuck is sanity anyway? He said, it's serenity, Bobby. I said, what do you mean it's serenity? He said, like in the serenity prayer. So I go, well, what is serenity? And usually he would say, well, go home and look it up. But he didn't. He said, serenity is when you feel like you're in the right place, the right time, the right amount of money in your pocket, the right haircut, the right jacket. That's serenity. That's what's available to us in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I can remember, in my luxury apartment in West Hollywood, looking at the water-stained ceiling, on my mattress that my landlord had given me, and thinking, I wonder if I'll ever be able to afford to go back to New York again, And then I remember the first time it crossed my mind, I wonder, what if this program, what if it worked? Forget that shit. I mean, I recognize prairie gibberish bullshit when I see it, It's not going to work. I mean, I'll go along with it for a little bit till I get a year, but, after that, I'm going to have a party and you're all invited. But you know, the book says once it opens a crack, the door never slams shut. And I got that one little moment, that glimpse of what if it really worked, man? What if it was better? What if it was better clean and sober than it was on my best day out there? You know? And this is my wish for you. You can call it a prayer if you want, you know. I hope that if you take the adventure of this program and see what happens to you if you stay sober. Because if you use, you know what's going to happen. You know what you're going to say and do and want to do. But if you stay sober, you don't have a clue. And I hope that what happens for you is what's happened for me, you know. Stuff has like happened in my life that I think Matt was talking about it when he was taking his cake. You know, shit that I couldn't even fantasize has taken place in my life. I mean, good stuff and bad stuff, you know. And seeing whale sharks in the open ocean and open heart surgery, you know. So, and it's all been just an adventure, you know, just a fantastic adventure. And I hope that that's what happens for you, because it's really pretty exciting. Thanks for listening.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.